Good ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Citizen A, where we wrap the week's current affairs with the best political team on television from a very Auckland perspective. Warning, we're as fair and balanced as Fox News. Joining me tonight on my revolving panel of bloggers and Auckland opinion shapers, she is the Deputy Mayor of Atlantis. I say Atlantis and not Waitakere because, like Atlantis, Waitakere will soon be a magical kingdom that no longer exists. She's running as a candidate in the Auckland Super City, is passionate about the environment, water and public transport, so she is unlikely to get any mainstream TV coverage whatsoever. Deputy Mayor of the beautiful Waitakere City, Penny Hulse, and number 7 on the ACT Party list, although after this show that placement may well be in freefall. He recently challenged Rodney Hyde for Epsom after the Heather Roy bullying fiasco in the finest tradition of the enemy of your enemy is my friend, ACT Party candidate Peter Tashkoff. Welcome to you both. Coming up tonight, issue 1, Rodney Hyde and Stephen Joyce proved to be as consultative as cancer by reneging on a promise to consult mayors on the oxymoronically named council-controlled organisations. Will water costs be next? Issue 2, John Banks says Len Brown is racially divisive. I can't wait to get into that topic. Issue 3 tonight, in the light of Rodney's bullying claims by Heather Roy, can the angry Oompa Loompa of New Zealand politics win Epsom? And we'll end the show with a final word. But let's kick things off with issue 1. Rodney Hyde and this government annexed Auckland, ramming the super city changes through under a misuse of urgency, denying Aucklanders any real say and denying Māori representation. The latest promise of transparency by Hyde and Joyce over the appointment of CCOs, which will run 70% of Auckland's assets, has been broken. Will water be next? Penny, you wrote a biting opinion piece on water changes last week in the Herald. Do you think the problem is that people just don't understand what's going on?
Absolutely. People aren't engaged with the issue of water. It rains, they turn on taps and they get water. They don't understand that by lack of transparency and by inappropriate pricing, we're condemning future generations to a complete blowout in the long-term costs of water.
Is that a failure of local government to explain the importance?
I think it's a combination of things. It's hard. Water's not sexy, you know, it doesn't engage people. It irritates them because, you know, they're dealing with rain all the time. But I think local government could have done a better job of explaining just the critical nature of dealing with water well. They do it well in Australia, we haven't done it here.
What are the problems that you foresee?
Number one issue, the way that we're going, we're hooked into long-term investment in big concrete infrastructure, pipes and big builds. The reality is a new dam costs about $600 million. Good investment in reducing the amount of water we use can minimise those costs, and that's what we should be looking at.
Peter, your best friend Rodney Hyde said water prices will go up, yet he champions lower rates, not higher rates. Is the Auckland Super City just one big structure to privatise Auckland's assets while costing us more?
That's the socialist conspiracy theory of it, Bomber.
Yes.
You've come to the wrong shop if you're going to look for a supporter of the Super City, as I think you know. I'd just like to come to Penny's point that she raised about how you control things like this. And there's two ways that you can look at it. One is that you can have a top-down controlled approach, and in that respect you're going to have some form of elite group governing it. It's going to have to be appointed by some kind of patronage or privilege, and it's going to be divorced from the people who actually consume the service. If you look at it the other way and turn it around and say, how do we want people to actually be more responsible about water, you've got to give people a choice in that. You've got to put the choice in people's hands about how they purchase water, and then if the water price reflects the true cost to them of purchasing it, then they'll put things like their own water supplies. And as I did when I lived at Bethells Valley, I had my own water supply. So as long as you look at it sort of a top-down, centralised bureaucracy way of doing things, you're never ever going to reach that situation where people are incentivised to do the right thing with water or any other.
Do you think it's a bad look, though, for Rodney, who's all about lower rates, to have to admit that the water costs are going to go up?
I didn't actually know he'd done that. I thought he'd had a hand-on-heart message from Watercare that the water would not go up.
No, he said it would go up this week.
All right, okay. Yes, certainly it's a...
You're not getting his press releases, are you? You're out of the loop now, Peter.
No, I am getting his releases, but I just didn't read that.
Penny, by giving the private sector 35-year contracts and only the barest of public scrutiny over these council-controlled organisations, and a mainstream media who spend more time on Paris Hilton's claim that she thought cocaine was chewing gum, apathy combined with ignorance means you've lost the debate already, haven't you?
I don't think we have. I think with the right people in the New Auckland Council, we can actually raise the water debate up to where it needs to be. And I don't disagree with some of what Peter was saying. I think we need to incentivise people to save water, but what we really need is a clever approach to water. We need a council that's going to allow people or encourage people or indeed support people financially to put in water tanks, to deal with stormwater appropriately, to reticulate grey water. We can minimise those costs long term, and I think it doesn't necessarily need to be linked into water pricing, but the bit that worries me by the current $1.30 price per water, which does, you know, come down a wee bit, we've hauled out all of the information about water, we've hauled out all the water minimisation projects, we've hauled out all the education projects, so that isn't a signal that Watercare's sending that they see that as their role going forward in the new council.
So why don't we do water well in Auckland?
Going back to my point, which I don't want to labour, but it rains, so people don't see that we've got a water problem.
Right.
In Brisbane, they do water fantastically. We've learned a huge amount from them because they understand that they are water constrained and that building new dams are expensive. They do water mining and have great water projects. We could do the same here. We just need for people to make the link between saving water and saving money long term.
Peter, the Cross-City Tunnel in Sydney was a private-public partnership and went bankrupt owing $687 million. Macquarie Bank in Indiana and Chicago was a PPP and has built toll roads that will be tolled for 100 years. While in Britain, the PPP plan to fix London's underground ended up costing the government $5 billion after the companies went broke. As a free market privatisation junkie, remind me again why public-private partnerships are such a good idea.
Well, you didn't describe free market then, you described something to do with the government. Why is the government picking up on a failed private company's bid to make some money? Why is the taxpayer fronting that? If someone wants to build a road,
like Canterbury, doesn't it?
And if someone wants to build a road and they want to, I think having things like private roads is a great way to give productive investment to this country. In this country, we invest in our houses because there's very little to invest in otherwise. New Zealanders haven't trusted the share market since 1987. We invest in our houses. But if there was something like a road to invest in, as opposed to an SFC offering 8% for God knows where the money's going, and that road is going to complement the existing infrastructure, people don't have to take it. I do think there has to be a choice in this. But if that road's there, it's going to earn 8% going forward to the future, and it's actually adding to the productive life of the country. Why shouldn't people invest in it? But I don't think the government should be underwriting it any more than they should have been underwriting the SFC.
Are we going to see more PPPs under the subsidy?
I don't have any view on that whatsoever. I'm not on the loop for that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that I believe there is a place. We shouldn't be obstinately opposed to people building infrastructure for profit. As long as there's always an option that's funded by the taxpayer available to people who don't want to use that piece.
So a rich road and a poor road.
You could look at it that way.
That's beautiful. A question to both of you. In an economic depression, do voters have wider social service demands on local government than just water and garbage removal? Can the new political muscle of a super city match these demands?
That's a great question. As I was driving in here, I was just thinking about one of the areas that I've been most involved in, which is around the redistribution of wealth and the role that local government has in that. You know, for instance, in Waitakere, we're an incredibly diverse community, and we've, over the 18 years that I've been on council, we've spent a lot of time working in that area between government and local government, between the delivery of social services and the delivery of rubbish services. Things like drawing together all the social service agencies that need to be involved in helping people with social housing. So, you know, long answer short, I don't think the new council has actually worked out how they're going to be involved in that.
Isn't that a lack of vision on their behalf? I mean, if you've got all of this political muscle now, can't you get more money from bloody Wellington for Auckland?
Sadly, Paula Bennett's Social Issues Forum is meant to address that. The way that it's been constructed...
Didn't do a very bloody good job, did it?
The way that it's been constructed, it misses the point. The one bit of glimmer of hope on the horizon I have is that we get a good bunch of people in on that new council who grab that potential and who really muscle up the delivery of appropriate social services in the Auckland region.
You know, the majority of people out there don't really get what local government does. I mean, we're having a chat about this beforehand, and that there was a perception, well, you're the local version of what the government does. And in a recession, in a depression, are people going to look to local councils for more social welfare spending?
Yeah. It's quite possible they will. I don't agree with Penny on the role of local government in the delivery of social welfare.
Well, she said redistribution of wealth. I could almost hear you choke.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you know.
I was always concerned when you get a doctor or something.
For that reaction.
He may die. He may say those words.
I believe I sat up straighter in my chair.
Yeah, I believe you did. I did believe. Yeah. But are people going to want more from their local?
I think you're right. And the structure of the super city is such that it's built in this very, very bad dynamic. Because you've got the money pouring in through the top, a lot of it being controlled directly by CCOs, it's true, but it's all pouring into the top, and we've got a kind of a tragedy of the commons situation going on now. Because the funders of that amount of money, what Māori call putea, is there, but they're miles away from the actual decision on where it's on spending it. You've built in this dynamic where each local group will be screaming to maximise their share of the commons without regard to the good of the commons itself. It's the tragedy of the commons. And that's a structural dynamic that's built into the super city and is a really bad dynamic, because they will scream for that. They'll scream for anything they can get because it's not coming out of their pocket.
Shouldn't Auckland start muscling Wellington to get more of our bloody tax dollars to run things going on in Auckland?
I agree with you. Auckland should start muscling Wellington to cut taxes so that more taxes can stay in Auckland and people can do what they want with their tax dollars still in their pocket.
So yes for the muscling, but for muscling, you're heaving them for the wrong reason.
I don't believe in bureaucrats and bureaucracies and elite groups making decisions for the people.
But can I just respond? I think the bit that we miss out in this debate is the fact that there is a huge amount of money that needs to be spent in Auckland to increase our social outcomes and to address poverty. The reality is a small amount of money wisely spent by local government in combination with community groups has that magical factor 2 and 2 make 5, and I think that's what the new super city needs to do.
I like
it
2
needs
and
to
2
be the
making
conduit.
5. What's wrong with 2 and 2 making 5?
Because it doesn't.
Oh,
come to Waitakere and we can show you how we do it.
I live in Waitakere, Penny.
Well, you're not doing it well. You keep open your eyes. Penny, who wins and who loses when these super city changes are rammed through and forced upon the people of Auckland?
I think the community grassroots deliverers of social service to community miss out. I think they're going to, the boards, my sense is, will be too small and underfunded to really ramp up the delivery of good things to the community, and the council at the top will be too busy and too disengaged to do that. And between those two layers, the community will drop through again.
Who wins? Who wins?
I think business wins.
Rodney's winning. Rodney's happy.
I think the overall region may have some wins with regard to joined up thinking about transport, business opportunities, and if we're smart, we'll grow the wins. At the moment, I think the jury's still out.
Peter, who wins, who loses? Yeah.
I think the government wins.
Yep.
The super city is a model that suits the government. They want to deal with one point of contact in Auckland so that they can not have to deal with 7 different people and get 7 decisions on things, or 30 different people and get 30 decisions on things. It's the same model they use in Māoridom. They want to deal with an iwi. They make up this idea of dealing with an iwi rather than the sub-tribes. The power isn't with the iwi, it's with the sub-tribes, but the government has empowered the iwi because that's where they want to deal. That's what's happening now in the super city. They want one point of contact. They've made sure that the council itself is actually not very powerful by ensuring that their own appointees, appointed through power, privilege and patronage, will be running the real powerful bodies, which is the CCOs. I'm
agreeing with you on that.
I applaud you for standing, and the others that are standing for the city council. I applaud you for standing, but I really wonder what difference you think, or well, what difference you will be able to make.
Agree?